Jin Woo stood at the observation window of Space Station Harmony, watching the alien ships approach. They were beautiful in a way that made his chest tight, silver vessels shaped like teardrops, moving through space with grace that human ships could never match. He had studied alien contact protocols for 15 years. But now that the moment arrived, his hands shook. "They're responding to our greeting," Heejin said beside him. She was the station's chief diplomat, calm where he felt nervous. "The translation software is working. They call themselves Alvirians." The first shuttle docked 3 hours later. Jin Woo waited in the greeting hall with Hei Jin and Commander Tae Hyun, who kept one hand near his weapon despite orders to appear peaceful. The airlock hissed open. The being who stepped through took Jin Woo's breath away. She was tall, perhaps 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like pearl. Her eyes were large and dark, her features elegant and strange. She wore robes that seemed to flow like water. Behind her came others, all female, all carrying themselves with quiet dignity. "I am Velnara," the leader said in perfect English, though her lips moved differently than the words suggested. "High Matriarch of the Alvirian people. We come in peace, seeking partnership with humanity." The negotiations began immediately. Velnara explained that her people had traveled for months to reach Earth. They came from a star system 40 light-years away, where their civilization had existed for over 100,000 years. Jin Woo felt dizzy hearing it. Humanity had barely reached the stars a century ago. "We are dying," Velnara said on the second day of talks. They sat in a conference room, Earth's leaders watching by video link. "Our species faces extinction within 5 generations. Hai Jin leaned forward. "But your technology is so advanced. Surely you can solve any medical problem." "This is not a medical problem," Velnara replied. Her dark eyes held deep sadness. "It is a genetic one. We abandoned natural reproduction 20,000 years ago. We perfected cloning, created genetic templates, removed all disease and weakness from our genome. We thought we had achieved immortality for our species." "What went wrong?" Jin Woo asked. "Everything." Velnara touched a control, and a holographic display appeared. It showed the Alvirian genome, beautiful and perfect, like a crystal sculpture. "We removed variation. We eliminated chaos. Every Alvirian born in the last 1,000 years is nearly identical to those who came before. Our immune systems cannot adapt. Our minds cannot evolve. We are perfect, and that perfection is killing us." Commander Tae Hyun crossed his arms. "What does this have to do with Earth?" Velnara's expression changed, showing something like hope. "We have studied many species across the galaxy. None possess what humanity has. We analyzed your genetic material from the probes you sent into deep space. Your DNA is extraordinary." Jin Woo blinked. "Our DNA? We're barely 200 years into our space age. We still have genetic diseases. We age and die. How can we have anything you need?" "Because of those very imperfections," Velnara said. She changed the hologram to show human DNA beside Alvirian DNA. The human strand looked messy, chaotic, full of variations and seeming errors. "Your species evolved under harsh conditions. You faced diseases, predators, climate changes, competition. Every human carries genetic variations that make them unique. This chaos, this beautiful imperfection, is exactly what we need." The room fell silent. Haijin finally spoke. "You want our genetic material. We want partnership." Velnara corrected gently. "We have tried everything else. We synthesized hybrid DNA in laboratories. We attempted genetic manipulation. We even tried harvesting genetic material from other species. All failed. The children were either stillborn or suffered terribly before dying. We have learned that genetic salvation cannot be rushed or forced. It must happen naturally." "Naturally?" Taehyun's hand moved toward his weapon again. Velnara raised her hands peacefully. "We ask for volunteers. humans willing to form partnerships with Alvirian females. To create children together through natural conception. We offer advanced technology, medical knowledge, and resources beyond measure. But we will accept no shortcuts, no forced extraction, no artificial insemination, only willing, genuine partnerships. Jinwoo's mind raced. Why natural conception? Your technology must be able to combine genetic material artificially. We tried, Velnara said quietly. For 50 years we tried every artificial method. The hybrid embryos failed. Our scientists finally discovered why. Natural conception creates epigenetic markers, chemical signatures that cannot be replicated in a laboratory. The act of natural reproduction triggers genetic activations that artificial methods miss. Without these markers, the DNA is just information. With them, it becomes life. The Earth representatives argued for hours after the Alvirians returned to their ships. Some called it an opportunity. Others called it exploitation. Jinwoo listened to them all. But his thoughts kept returning to Velnara's sad eyes and desperate hope. That night, he reviewed the genetic data the Alvirians had shared. It was real. Their species truly was dying, suffocating under the weight of their own perfection. And human DNA, chaotic and imperfect as it was, offered them salvation. Heejin found him in the lab at midnight. You're considering it, aren't you? Volunteering. Jinwoo didn't answer immediately. He thought about his career, his life on Earth, his fear of the unknown. Then he thought about an entire species facing extinction because they had tried to eliminate the very thing that made life possible. Variation. Change. Adaptation. They need us, he said finally. An advanced species that has crossed the stars, and they need humanity. Not our technology, not our weapons, our messy, imperfect DNA. That's very HFY of you, Heejin said with a small smile. HFY. Humanity, fuck yeah. It's an old internet phrase. The idea that humans have something special, even compared to more advanced aliens. Jinwoo looked at the genetic data again. Maybe we do. Maybe our strength isn't in being perfect. Maybe it's in being adaptable. In surviving despite our weaknesses. So what do we tell them? Heejin asked. Jinwoo closed his eyes and made a decision that would change everything. We tell them we'll consider their proposal. But we need guarantees, volunteers only. Full rights for any hybrid children, and equal partnership, not servitude. You think they'll agree? They're desperate enough to cross 40 light-years of space. They're desperate enough to ask for help from a species they could probably conquer easily. I think they'll agree to anything that gives them hope. Heejin nodded slowly. Then we better make sure that hope doesn't destroy us in the process. The next morning, Jinwoo delivered Earth's preliminary response to Velnara. The Alvirian matriarch listened carefully, her alien features impossible to read. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You ask for guarantees of respect and autonomy, she said finally. This is good. This is right. My people are desperate. But we are not monsters. We will agree to your terms. Then we have a lot of work to do, Jinwoo said. Velnara's expression changed, showing what might have been a smile. Indeed. We must build trust between our peoples. We must ensure volunteers understand what they are choosing, and we must hope that human DNA can truly save us. And if it can't, Jinwoo asked, then my people will face extinction with dignity, knowing we tried everything. Velnara paused. But I believe it will work. I believe humanity's strength lies in the very things you consider weaknesses. Your chaos, your diversity, your imperfection. These are not flaws. They are what made you survivors. Jinwoo looked out at Earth hanging in the void beyond the station. A blue marble, teeming with life that had clawed its way up from nothing. Maybe Velnara was right. Maybe humanity's real power wasn't in being the strongest or smartest or most advanced. Maybe it was in refusing to quit, no matter how imperfect they were. Dong Hyun had always loved puzzles. As a geneticist, He spent his career solving the mysteries hidden in DNA. But nothing had prepared him for this. He sat across from Unji, an Alverian scientist, both of them staring at the holographic displays showing two vastly different genetic codes. "Your genome is perfect," Donghyun said, shaking his head in wonder. Every base pair aligned correctly. No junk DNA, no genetic diseases. It's like looking at a master sculpture. Unji's long fingers moved through the hologram. "And it is killing us. Show me your genome again." Donghyun pulled up his own genetic code. Compared to the Alverian perfection, it looked like a mess. Repetitive sequences, vestigial genes from ancient ancestors, variations that seemed random. "This is just mine. Every human has something different. We're all unique. That is what we need," Yoonji said softly. "But we do not understand why. Our best scientists have studied the samples you provided. We know human DNA can save us. But we cannot explain the mechanism." They worked together for weeks. Donghyun found himself fascinated not just by the science but by Unji herself. She was brilliant, asking questions he had never considered. The Alverians thought about genetics differently, seeing patterns humans missed. Young Jae, the bioethicist assigned to monitor their work, visited the lab regularly. He made Donghyun uncomfortable with his constant questions. "Are we really sure this is right?" "Right," Young Jae asked one afternoon. "Helping them could change humanity forever." "They're dying," Donghyun replied. "How is helping them wrong?" "Because they might be using us," Young Jae said. "They're more advanced. What if this is just the first step in making humanity dependent on them? Or them dependent on us?" Unji looked up from her work. "I understand your concern. My people have the same fears. Some Alverians believe accepting human help is weakness. But what is the alternative? Let my species die because we are too proud to ask for aid?" Young Jae had no answer for that. He left, but his questions lingered in Donghyun's mind. The breakthrough came on a quiet Tuesday. Donghyun was examining human DNA samples when he noticed something strange. "Unji, look at this." She came to his station. He showed her a comparison between DNA from 20 different humans. "See how variable this region is? In your people, this section is identical across all samples, but in humans, it changes constantly." "We know this," Unji said. "It is the variation we seek." "No, you're missing it." Donghyun pulled up more data. "It's not just that it varies. It's how it varies. This region codes for immune response. Every human has a different version because we evolved under constant threat from diseases. Our ancestors who had better immune variations survived. Those who didn't died. The survivors passed on their genes." Unji's eyes widened. "Natural selection." "Exactly. But it's more than that." Donghyun worked quickly, pulling up environmental data. Humans evolved in different climates, different altitudes, different environments. Some of us developed genes for high-altitude living, others for tropical diseases, others for cold resistance. All of this variation exists because Earth was harsh and unforgiving, and we eliminated all such pressures, Yoonji whispered. "We controlled our environment. We cured all diseases. We removed every challenge that might have driven evolution." "You stopped evolving," Donghyun said. "You achieved perfection. But perfection means no room for change. And in a changing universe, the inability to change is death." They dove deeper into the research. What they found was both beautiful and terrifying. Human DNA contained what Donghyun started calling the chaos factor. Millions of years of random mutations. Most harmful, but some beneficial. Natural selection had kept the good mutations and slowly eliminated the bad ones. But the process never stopped because Earth never stopped changing. Humans who lived in high UV environments developed darker skin. Humans in low UV environments developed lighter skin to produce vitamin D. Humans who ate certain foods developed enzymes to digest them. Every environmental pressure created genetic responses. Your people tried to create this artificially? Donghyun asked. Yoonji pulled up files, showing Alvirian experiments. Donghyun felt sick looking at them. Artificial genomes that had torn themselves apart. Synthetic DNA that had created monstrous mutations. Clone after clone that had died in agony. We tried everything, Yoonji said, her voice hollow. We harvested DNA from other species. We created computer models. We even tried controlled mutation. Nothing worked. The hybrid children either died immediately or lived in terrible pain for days before dying. Because you were trying to force evolution, Donghyun realized. Evolution doesn't work that way. It's not about designing perfect outcomes. It's about throwing random variations at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's messy and wasteful and takes millions of years. We do not have millions of years, Yoonji said quietly. Donghyun thought about that. Then something occurred to him. You said natural conception was required. Why? Yoonji pulled up another file. We discovered epigenetic markers, chemical tags on DNA that control which genes activate and when. These markers are not part of the genetic code itself, but they are crucial for life. We found that natural conception between two beings creates unique epigenetic patterns that cannot be artificially replicated. The act of reproduction itself matters, Donghyun said, understanding dawning. Not just the genetic material. Yes. When two beings create life naturally, their bodies exchange chemical signals. Hormones, pheromones, even emotional states affect the epigenetic markers on the developing embryo. Laboratory conception lacks all of this. The DNA is there, but the markers that tell it how to function properly are missing. Donghyun sat back, overwhelmed. So you need actual partnerships. Not just genetic material. We need connection, Yoonji said. Our scientists resisted this finding for years. It seemed too primitive, too emotional. But the data is clear. Life requires more than just DNA sequences. It requires the messy, complicated process of two beings coming together naturally. Youngjae returned that evening. Donghyun and Eunji showed him their findings. The bioethicist studied the data for a long time. This changes things, Youngjae said finally. If you need natural partnerships, then humans aren't just donors. We're participants. Equal partners. That is what we have been saying, Eunji replied. But many on Earth don't believe you. They think this is exploitation dressed up in pretty words. Youngjae looked at her directly. Can you promise this won't become forced? That desperate Alvirians won't start taking what they need? Eunji met his gaze. I cannot promise that all my people will act with honor. Just as you cannot promise all humans will act with honor. But I can promise that my government will punish any who violate consent. We are desperate. Yes. But we have not lost our morality. Sujin, the journalist who had been covering the story, published a major article that week. It explained the genetic findings in simple terms. The response from Earth was immediate and divided. Some saw it as humanity's chance to help another species and gain incredible technology. Others saw it as a trap. Donghyun didn't know which side was right. He just knew that the science was sound. Human DNA could save the Alvirians. But only if humans chose to help. He looked at Yoonji working late into the night, her alien features focused on saving her people. She reminded him why he became a scientist. Not for fame or money, but to solve problems that mattered. We should show them the cost too, Donghyun said suddenly. Yoonji looked up. What? Human evolution came at a terrible price. Billions of our ancestors died. Diseases killed millions. Predators, starvation, war. All of it shaped our DNA. If we're giving you our chaos factor, your people need to understand where it came from. Eunji was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. You are right. We should not romanticize human suffering. We should honor it. Your ancestors paid in blood for the genetic diversity that might save us. Dong Hyun created a presentation showing Earth's evolutionary history. The mass extinctions, the plagues, the ice ages, every disaster that had pushed humanity to adapt or die. He showed it to Velnara and the other Alvirian leaders. They watched in silence. When it ended, Velnara spoke. "We removed all such pressures from our world. We thought it was mercy. We thought it was progress. It was," Donghyun said. "But there's always a cost. You gained peace and safety. You lost the ability to change, and you endured hell," Velnara said, "and gained adaptation as your reward." "Not a reward," Donghyun corrected. "A survival tool. Humans aren't special because we're better. We're special because we refuse to quit. Even when everything tried to kill us." Velnara's expression showed deep respect. "Then we ask not just for your DNA, but for your strength. Your refusal to surrender. Perhaps that, more than genetics, is what my people need to learn." The research continued, but something had shifted. The Alvirians stopped seeing humans as a resource and started seeing them as teachers, and Donghyun started seeing the Alvirians not as desperate refugees, but as people who had lost something precious and were trying to find it again. He just hoped they could find it before time ran out. Sang-woo never expected to be the first. He sat in the volunteer processing center, filling out forms, wondering if he was making a terrible mistake. Around him, dozens of other humans did the same. Some looked excited, others looked terrified. Sang-woo felt numb. He had lost his wife and daughter in a colony accident 3 years ago. "A simple reactor malfunction," they said. Simple. As if simple made it hurt less. He had thrown himself into work, engineering new systems for the outer settlements, but nothing filled the emptiness. When the Alvirian Partnership Program was announced, something inside him stirred. Not hope exactly, but purpose maybe. A chance to do something that mattered. Sang-woo? A human coordinator called his name. "You're matched with Nari. She's waiting in room 7. His heart pounded as he walked down the corridor. What did one say to an alien female? How did this even work? He pushed open the door. Nari stood by the window, looking out at the stars. She turned as he entered. She was smaller than most Alvirians he had seen. Perhaps only 6 feet tall. Her skin had a softer shimmer, almost like moonlight. Her eyes were kind. "Hello," she said in careful Korean. "I am Nari. I have been practicing your language." Sang-woo blinked. "You speak Korean?" "A little. I wanted to make you comfortable." She gestured to a table with 2 chairs. "Please, sit. We should talk before making any decisions." They sat. Sang-woo found himself relaxing slightly. Nari's voice was gentle, her manner patient. She explained that she was a scientist, studying human culture and biology. She had volunteered for the program because she believed it was the right thing to do, not out of desperation. "I will not pressure you," Nari said. "If you wish to leave, you may. There is no shame in it." "Why did you learn Korean?" Sang-woo asked. "Most Alvirians just use translators, because language is personal. I wanted you to hear my voice, not a machine's voice." Nari tilted her head. "Why did you volunteer?" Sang-woo told her about his wife and daughter, about the emptiness, about wanting his life to mean something again. Nari listened without interrupting. "I am sorry for your loss," she said when he finished. "My people do not experience death as you do. We live for thousands of years. But we understand loss. We have lost our future." "Do you really think this will work?" Sang-woo asked. "Human and Alvirian DNA. The scientists say yes. But even if it works, the question is whether we can work." Nari looked at him directly. "This is not just about genetics. We would be partners, raising a child together. That requires more than compatible DNA." Over the following weeks, Sang-woo and Nari met regularly. They walked in the station gardens. They shared meals. They talked about everything, From philosophy to favorite foods, Sang-woo found himself actually enjoying her company. Mi-young, the psychologist assigned to their case, met with them both. "How are you feeling about this?" she asked Sang-woo. "Confused," he admitted. "I came here thinking it would be simple. Help save a species. Contribute to something important. But Nari is not a concept. She's a person, and this is getting complicated." "Complicated how?" "I like her. She makes me laugh. We have long conversations about science and art. Is that wrong? Should this be purely practical?" Mi-young smiled. "Would you prefer it was purely practical?" Sang-woo thought about that. He thought about coming home to an empty apartment, going through motions, feeling nothing. Then he thought about Nari, explaining Alverian poetry to him, her eyes lighting up with passion. "No," he said quietly. "I would not prefer that." Not everyone was supportive. Hyun-soo, a council member from Earth, visited the station to inspect the program. He pulled Sang-woo aside one day. "You understand what you're doing, right?" Hyun-soo said. "You're not just having a child. You're creating a hybrid. Something neither human nor Alverian." "I know," Sang-woo replied. "And you're fine with that? Fine with your child being an experiment?" Sang-woo felt anger rise in him. "Every child is an experiment. My daughter was unique. Every human child is unique. That's what makes us human. The hybrid child will just be unique in a different way." "You're comparing apples and oranges," Hyun-soo said. "Human children are still human. This child will be other." "Other doesn't mean less," Sang-woo shot back. "Maybe other means more. Maybe this child will have the best of both species." Hyun-soo shook his head. "You're blinded by emotion. This whole program is exploitation, dressed up as partnership." After he left, Nari found Sang-woo staring out at the stars. "You are troubled," she said. "He called this exploitation, said I'm being used." Nari was quiet for a long moment. "Perhaps he is partially right. My people are desperate. That desperation could lead to exploitation if we are not careful. But I can tell you my truth. I did not choose you because I need your DNA. I chose you because I liked you when we first met. Because you were kind and sad and trying to be brave." "What if the child suffers?" Sang-woo asked. "What if being a hybrid is painful or difficult?" "Then we will help them," Nari said simply, "as any parents would. We cannot guarantee our child will have an easy life. We can only promise to love them and support them." The decision came naturally after that. Sang-woo and Nari formally agreed to the partnership. The medical team explained the process, the monitoring, the unknowns. Sang-woo signed documents, underwent medical examinations, and prepared himself. The conception was strange and natural at the same time. Despite their physical differences, the act was tender. Nari's skin was warm, her touch gentle. Sang-woo felt a connection deeper than just physical. Weeks later, Nari was confirmed pregnant. The medical team was ecstatic. The first hybrid was developing normally. Sang-woo just felt terrified and hopeful in equal measure. The pregnancy lasted 11 months, longer than human but shorter than Alverian. Mi-young checked on them constantly. Sang-woo found himself falling into a routine of caring for Nari, talking to her stomach, imagining the future. "What if I'm a terrible father?" he asked one night. "Then you will learn to be better," Nari said, her hand over his. "That is what parents do. They try, they fail, they try again." The birth was difficult. The hybrid child was larger than a human baby but smaller than an Alverian infant. The medical team worked frantically, but Sang-woo could see their excitement even through the stress. Then he heard crying. A strong, healthy cry. The doctor lifted a baby covered in fluid. And Sang-woo's world stopped. The child was beautiful. She had his dark hair, but Nari's large eyes. Her skin was a blend. Not quite human. Not quite Alverian. She was perfect and impossible and real. "A daughter," the doctor said, placing the baby in Nari's arms. "Congratulations. All readings are normal. Better than normal, actually." Nari looked down at their daughter with wonder. Then she looked at Sangwoo with tears in her eyes. We did it. Sangwoo touched his daughter's tiny hand. She gripped his finger with surprising strength. Hello, he whispered. I'm your father. The genetic tests came back days later. The hybrid DNA was stable. More than stable, it was remarkable. The child had human adaptability, combined with Alverian longevity factors. Her immune system showed unprecedented diversity. Her neural development was accelerated. Dong-hyun visited them in the medical bay. She's extraordinary, he said, looking at the genetic readouts. Human DNA didn't just save Alverian DNA. They enhanced each other. Created something better than either alone. She's not Data, Sangwoo said protectively. She's our daughter. I know, Dong-hyun said gently. But she's also proof. Proof that this works. That humanity and Alverians can create a future together. Word spread quickly. The first successful hybrid child became news across human and Alverian space. Some celebrated. Others worried. But Sangwoo ignored all of it. He focused on learning to change diapers, to feed his daughter, to comfort her when she cried. Nari was a natural mother, patient and loving. They named their daughter Jia, combining human and Alverian naming traditions. She grew quickly, faster than human children but with clear personality emerging. At 3 months, Jia could already hold her head up and make eye contact. At 6 months, she was crawling and babbling in what sounded like both Korean and Alverian language. The doctors were amazed, but what struck Sangwoo most was how normal it felt. Yes, his daughter was a hybrid. Yes, she was unique. But she was also just a baby who needed love and care. The rest was details. Hyun-soo visited again when Jia was 8 months old. He watched Sangwoo playing with her, making her laugh. I was wrong, Hyun-soo said quietly. Sangwoo looked up. About what? About this being exploitation. I see the way you and Nari are with her. This isn't some transaction. This is a family. Hyun-soo paused. I'm sorry I doubted you. It's okay, Sangwoo said. I had doubts too. But then I met Nari. And then I met my daughter. Doubts don't matter much after that. As Jia grew, other couples joined the program. More humans volunteered. More Alverians arrived. Sangwoo and Nari became mentors, helping new couples navigate the challenges. Mi-young published a study showing that the partnerships were genuinely healthy. The couples weren't just breeding stock. They were forming real bonds, real relationships. The children benefited from having parents who cared about each other. On Jia's first birthday, they held a small celebration. Human and Alverian guests mixed, sharing food and stories. Sangwoo watched his daughter toddle around. Fearless and curious, equally comfortable with both species. You know what amazes me? Nari said beside him. What? She does not see difference. To her, humans and Alverians are just people. She does not question why her mother looks different from her father. She just loves us both. Sangwoo pulled Nari close. Maybe that's the real gift. Not the genetics, not the technology. Just the ability to love without seeing barriers. Perhaps, Nari agreed. Or perhaps the gift is that we created someone who will build a future we cannot even imagine. Sangwoo looked at Jia, laughing as she played with both human and Alverian children. He thought about his wife and first daughter. Gone but not forgotten. He thought about Nari, who had helped him feel alive again. He thought about the strange, beautiful path that had led him here. To the future then, he said softly. Jia looked up at her parents and smiled. A smile that belonged to both species and neither. A smile that promised something new and extraordinary. Taemin had been a merchant ship captain for 12 years, running cargo between human colonies. He had seen a lot in that time, but nothing prepared him for what he found in the abandoned station on the border of mapped space. His ship, the Morning Star, had picked up a distress beacon. Protocols required him to investigate. What he found was a research facility that wasn't on any official charts. "Captain, you need to see this." His first officer, Yuna, called from the station's main lab. Taemin floated through the abandoned corridors. The station still had power, but no life signs. He entered the lab and stopped cold. Rows of medical tanks lined the walls. Inside each one was a small body, hybrid embryos, all dead. "What the hell is this?" Yuna whispered. Taemin checked the computer systems. The logs told a horrific story. A rogue group of Alvirians had been trying to create hybrids by force. They had stolen human DNA samples. They had attempted to clone hybrid embryos. Every single attempt had failed, resulting in the malformed bodies in the tanks. "We need to report this," Taemin said grimly. The discovery sent shockwaves through both human and Alvirian governments. Jihei, the governor of the nearest human colony, called an emergency session. Taemin attended by video link, his evidence damning. "This proves what critics have been saying," one council member argued. "The Alvirians can't be trusted. They're so desperate. They're willing to steal and clone." Velnara herself responded to the accusations. "This facility was not sanctioned by my government. We have been searching for this rogue faction for months. They represent Alvirians who believe desperation justifies any action. They are wrong. How do we know there aren't more facilities like this?" Jihei demanded. "You don't," Velnara admitted. "Just as we don't know if some humans might try to exploit this situation for profit, but hiding the actions of criminals does not help anyone. We will work with you to find and stop any such facilities." The investigation revealed a network of rogue Alvirians, led by a faction leader named Koran. He believed that waiting for volunteers was too slow. His people were dying. Why ask permission when they could take what they needed? But Koran hadn't worked alone. Some humans had helped him, selling stolen DNA samples for enormous sums. The corruption went both ways. Raylan was an Alvirian warrior who had been hunting Koran for months. She arrived at Jihei's colony with evidence of where the next rogue facility would be established. She requested human assistance in shutting it down. "Why should we help you?" a council member asked. "This is your mess." Raylan's eyes flashed with anger. "Because it is our mess together. Humans helped Koran. Humans profited from this evil. If you wish to claim innocence, first, look at your own people." Jihei made a hard decision. "We'll help. But this partnership program needs better oversight. On both sides." The raid on Koran's facility was swift and brutal. Taemin volunteered to pilot the assault ship. Raylan led the boarding team. They found Koran in a lab, surrounded by more tanks, more failed experiments. "You're making a mistake," Koran said as they arrested him. "My people are dying. Every day we waste on asking permission is another day closer to extinction. Your people are dying because you made yourselves perfect," Raylan replied coldly. "You cannot fix that mistake by making new mistakes. The humans won't help us fast enough. You know this. Then we deserve to die," Raylan said, shocking everyone. "If we can only survive by becoming monsters, then extinction is preferable." The trials that followed were painful. Both human and Alvirian criminals were exposed. Some had stolen DNA. Others had kidnapped volunteers. A few had even attempted forced insemination. All were punished severely. But the scandal nearly destroyed the partnership program. Many humans demanded it be shut down. Many Alvirians argued they should return home and face extinction with dignity. Bora was one of those Alvirians. She was a philosopher who had opposed the partnership from the beginning. She spoke at a public forum, attended by thousands. "We should not have come here," Bora said. "We asked primitive humans to save us. We debased ourselves. We abandoned our principles. And for what? A few hybrid children who will never truly belong to either species." Jia was in the audience that day with her parents. She was 3 years old, precocious and aware. When Bora finished speaking, Jia stood up. "I belong to both species," she said in a clear voice. Everyone turned to look at the small hybrid child. My mother is Alvirian. My father is human. I am not lost between them. I am made from them. The room fell silent. Bora looked at Jia with an unreadable expression. You are a child, Bora said finally. You do not understand what has been sacrificed to create you. I am a child. Jia agreed. But I am alive. And I am happy. Isn't that better than perfect? And dead? The simplicity of the statement hit hard. Sang Wu pulled his daughter close, proud and protective. Nari touched Jia's hair gently. Out of the mouths of babes, someone murmured. The trials continued, but something had shifted. Jia's words spread through social media, news channels, public forums. Other hybrid children appeared in interviews with their parents. They were healthy, happy, thriving. Dong Hyun released a comprehensive study on the hybrid children. The results were stunning. Not only were they viable, they showed abilities neither species possessed alone. They could survive in a wider range of environments. They learned faster. They had immune systems that adapted to new diseases in real time. These children are not weaker for being mixed, Dong Hyun explained in a press conference. They are stronger. They have human adaptability and Alvirian resilience. They represent evolution in fast forward, but the most surprising discovery came when the children began to show psionic abilities. Human DNA had no psionic potential. Alvirian DNA had lost most of its psionic capability through genetic stagnation, but together, they created children who could sense emotions, sometimes even communicate telepathically. We don't understand it yet, Dong Hyun admitted, but the hybrid genome is activating latent abilities in both species, creating something genuinely new. Ji-hye faced increasing pressure to either fully commit to the program or shut it down. The colony governors were split. Earth's government was divided. The Alvirian Council faced similar conflicts. A summit was called. Representatives from both species gathered to make a final decision. Ji-hye spoke for the human side. Velnara spoke for the Alvirians. We cannot continue as we have been, Ji-hye said. The abuses, the exploitation, the lack of oversight. It's unacceptable. Agreed, Velnara said. But abandoning the program condemns my people to extinction. Then we need a new approach, Ji-hye replied. Not a partnership program, but a partnership. Real integration. Shared governance. Mutual accountability. The proposal was radical. Create joint colonies where humans and Alvirians lived together. Shared laws, shared responsibilities, shared futures. No more separating volunteers from their communities. No more treating the hybrids as experiments. Full integration? One human delegate asked. That's asking a lot. Half measures led to the abuses, Ji-hye said. If we're going to do this, we do it properly. Together. Velnara consulted with her advisors. Bo-Ra was among them. Still opposed but willing to listen. After hours of debate, Velnara returned to the summit. We agree, she said. But with one condition. The hybrid children must be granted full rights in both societies. Not as experiments or political tools, but as citizens. Done, Ji-hye said. The Shared Future Accord was signed 3 months later. It established the framework for true integration. Joint colonies were founded. Laws were harmonized. Education systems were merged. It was messy and difficult, and frequently frustrating, but it worked. Taemin watched the first joint colony take shape from orbit. Ships from both species arrived daily, bringing families, equipment, hope. He had found the rogue facility, exposed the corruption. Now he was seeing something better built from the ashes. You think it'll last? Yuna asked beside him. I don't know, Taemin admitted. But I know doing nothing wasn't an option. Down on the colony, Raylan helped construct housing. She had become an advocate for the program after hunting down the rogues. She worked alongside human engineers, learning their methods, sharing Alvirian techniques. One of the engineers, a young man named Woojin, worked beside her regularly. They didn't talk much at first, but gradually conversation grew easier. "Why did you fight so hard to stop Koran?" Woojin asked one day. "Because some things cannot be forced," Raylan replied. "Life must be freely given, or it is not life, it is slavery." "You believe that strongly?" "I believe that if we cannot survive with honor, we should not survive at all." Woojin was quiet for a moment. "You're a rare person, Raylan. I'm glad you're here." Raylan looked at him, surprised. Then something shifted in her expression. "As am I." Bora observed the integration with skepticism. She had voted against the accord, believing it would lead to the erasure of Alverian culture. But as months passed, she noticed something unexpected. Alverian music was being taught in human schools. Human philosophy was being studied by Alverian scholars. The hybrid children spoke both languages fluently, practiced both customs naturally. "They're not replacing our culture," another Alverian said to her. "They're expanding it, or diluting it," Bora countered. "Is there a difference?" Bora had no answer. She watched a group of children playing, human and Alverian and hybrid together. They laughed in the same language, played the same games, saw each other simply as friends. Maybe that was the real integration. Not agreements or treaties, but children who didn't see borders. The hybrid children continued to amaze researchers. Jia, now 5, could sense her parents' emotions. When Sangwoo was sad, she would hug him without being asked. When Nari was stressed, Jia would bring her water and say soothing things. Other hybrid children showed different abilities. Some had enhanced physical strength. Others had perfect memory. A few showed early signs of being able to survive in vacuum for short periods. Their hybrid biology adapting in impossible ways. "They're not human, and they're not Alverian," Mi Young explained in her latest research. "They're something new. Post-human, post-Alverian. We need new terminology." "They're just children," Sangwoo said when asked for comment. "Calling them post-anything makes them sound like experiments. They're kids who happen to have cool abilities." But everyone understood what the children represented. They were living proof that the partnership worked. More than worked, thrived. The Accord faced challenges. Some humans resented Alverians moving into their space. Some Alverians found human customs crude and chaotic. Conflicts erupted regularly, but they were resolved through dialogue, compromise, patience. Slowly, painfully, the two species learned to live together. Jihei watched it all with cautious optimism. She had taken a huge risk pushing for full integration. If it failed, she would be remembered as the governor who destroyed human autonomy. If it succeeded, she would be remembered as a visionary. She honestly didn't care about legacy. She just wanted it to work. 5 years after the Accord, the first generation of hybrid children entered school. They learned human history and Alverian history. They studied Earth biology and Alverian science. They were raised to see both species as their heritage. Velnara visited one of these schools. She sat in on a class where hybrid, human, and Alverian children studied together. The teacher, a human woman, explained photosynthesis, while an Alverian assistant demonstrated with holographic models. After class, Velnara spoke to Jia, who was now 7, and remarkably articulate. "Do you know who I am?" Velnara asked. "You're the High Matriarch," Jia said. "You came to Earth and asked for help." "Yes." "Do you understand why?" Jia thought about it. "Because sometimes, even powerful people need help. And asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom." Velnara felt something break inside her. She knelt down to Jia's level. "Your parents taught you well." "They taught me that being different is good," Jia said. "That mixing things makes them stronger. Like how human and Alverian together made me." "And are you happy being mixed?" Jia smiled brightly. "I'm happy being me. The mixed part is just what I am, not who I am." Velnara stood, moved beyond words. This child, this impossible hybrid child, understood more about identity and belonging than most adults. The Alvirian birth rate began to recover. Not all partnerships produced children, but enough did that extinction was no longer inevitable. The hybrid children proved reliably healthy. The genetic diversity they introduced to the Alvirian genome began spreading through later generations. But something unexpected happened. Some purely Alvirian couples, inspired by seeing hybrids thrive, began requesting genetic variation treatments. They wanted their children to have the chaos factor that made humans special. Human scientists worked with Alvirian doctors to introduce controlled variation into Alvirian embryos. Not human DNA, but randomness, planned imperfection, deliberate chaos. The first variable Alvirians were born a decade after the Accord. They were different from their parents, each one unique. They had immune systems that could adapt. They had slightly different heights, skin tones, features. They were imperfect, and they were healthy. We have learned, Velnara said in a speech marking the occasion, that perfection is death. That variation is life. That humanity's greatest gift to us was not their DNA, but their example. They showed us that survival comes not from eliminating weakness, but from embracing change. The galaxy watched the human-Alvirian integration with interest. Other species sent observers. Some were impressed. Others were skeptical. A few were concerned about the implications, but none could deny the results. Two species that should have been incompatible had created a thriving joint civilization. The hybrid children were proof that cooperation could create something better than either species alone. Bora finally accepted the reality during a cultural festival. She watched hybrid children perform both human and Alvirian dances, blending the styles into something entirely new. It was beautiful and strange and undeniably alive. I was wrong, she admitted to Velnara. About what? I thought mixing our species would destroy us, but instead, it's saving us. Not just genetically, but culturally. We were becoming stagnant in every way. Humans forced us to change, to adapt, to grow. Velnara smiled. And we forced them to look beyond their own world. To see that cooperation with the other can create wonders. What do we call this new civilization? Bora asked. We call it the future. Jinwu had spent 20 years working toward this moment. He stood in the garden of the Alvirian homeworld, watching twin suns set over an alien landscape that now felt like home. He had been Earth's first ambassador to the Alvirians, and now he was something more. A bridge between worlds. The garden was full of people tonight. Humans and Alvirians mixed freely, talking and laughing. Hybrid children ran through the carefully maintained flora, playing games that combined rules from both species. It looked like chaos. It looked like life. You're thinking deeply, Heejin said, joining him. She had become his partner in the diplomatic corps, helping build the framework for integration. I'm thinking about how far we've come, Jinwu replied. 20 years ago, we didn't know if this would work. If humans and Alvirians could even talk to each other, much less build a civilization together. And now we have joint governments, shared colonies, hybrid children who speak both languages from birth. Heejin smiled. Not bad for 2 decades. Velnara approached them. Older now but still graceful. She had guided her people through the most transformative period in their history. Jinwu. Heejin. Thank you for coming. We wouldn't miss this, Jinwu said. Da-Un's speech is important. Da-Un was the first hybrid child, Sang-Woo and Nari's daughter, now a remarkable young woman of 17. She had grown up as a symbol of the partnership, but she had become so much more. She was brilliant, compassionate, and possessed abilities that amazed researchers. The crowd gathered as Da-Un took the stage. She looked nervous but determined. Jinwu remembered holding her as a baby, marveling at her impossible existence. Now she stood before hundreds, ready to speak about the future. I was born between 2 worlds, Da-Un began, her voice clear. My mother is Alvirian. My father is human. Growing up, people asked me which one I was, which species I belonged to. They wanted me to choose. She paused, looking out at the mixed crowd. But I am not between two worlds. I am of both worlds. And that is my strength, not my weakness. The crowd listened intently. Daun continued. I can breathe in atmospheres that would kill my mother or my father alone. I can sense emotions like Alvirians, but I process them with human spontaneity. I can survive extremes that neither parent species could endure. And I am not special. Every hybrid child shares these gifts. We represent what happens when two species stop seeing each other as other and start seeing each other as partners. We are living proof that difference creates strength. Jinwoo felt tears in his eyes. This was what they had hoped for. Not just biological success, but understanding, acceptance, growth. Daun talked about the hybrid children's abilities, how they could adapt to new environments within days, how their immune systems learned from exposures that would kill pure humans or Alvirians, how they possessed both human creativity and Alvirian patience. But our greatest ability, she said, is that we don't see barriers. When we look at a human, we see family. When we look at an Alvirian, we see family. We were raised to see similarity, not difference. She gestured to the crowd. This is what the future looks like. Not human, not Alvirian, but together, and anyone who cannot see that beauty is trapped in old thinking. The applause was thunderous. Jinwoo found himself clapping until his hands hurt. Beside him, Velnara was crying openly, and Heejin was grinning. After the speech, Jinwoo found Daun in a quiet corridor. That was incredible, he said. I was terrified, Daun admitted. But someone had to say it. Some people still see us as experiments, as curiosities. We're not. We're just people. You're right, but you're also special, Daun. You represent hope. Daun looked at him seriously. I represent change. Hope is what we make of that change. Sang-woo and Nari found them. Sang-woo pulled his daughter into a hug. I'm proud of you. Don't embarrass me, Dad, Daun said, but she hugged him back. Nari touched her daughter's face gently. You spoke truth. That is never embarrassing. And if you tilted her minitia, allo see. Ende my nothing. Ende my nothing. We spront her meine screws now of flows. And if you tell today 142 minus. Ende my not things of say valo. They walked together through the garden. Other hybrid children waved at Daun. Some barely toddlers. Others teenagers like herself. Each one unique. Each one thriving. Jinwoo thought about the early days, when every hybrid pregnancy was terrifying, when every birth was celebrated like a miracle. Now, hybrid children were common, normal. The miracle had become everyday life. The Alvirian birth rate had stabilized. Between hybrid children and the new variable Alvirians, extinction was no longer a threat, but something more important had happened. The Alvirian culture had started changing. Minho, a human philosopher, had published a book called The Strength in Imperfection. It had become required reading in both human and Alvirian schools. Jinwoo had read it 3 times. He found Minho at the celebration, surrounded by students arguing philosophy. Jinwoo waited for a break in the conversation. Your book changed how people think, Jinwoo said. Minho smiled. I just wrote down what was already happening. Humans and Alvirians learning from each other. Realizing that our weaknesses are strengths in disguise. Explain that to the students, one young Alvirian said. How can weakness be strength? Minho considered. Humans are weak individually. We're not the fastest, strongest, or smartest. We die young. We get sick. We make mistakes. But those weaknesses forced us to cooperate, to adapt, to find creative solutions. Our weakness made us resilient. And Alvirians? A human student asked. Alvirians were strong, Minho replied. Perfect genetics, long lives, advanced technology. But that strength made you complacent. You stopped adapting because you didn't need to. Your strength became your weakness. So we needed each other, the Alvirian student said. Exactly. Humans needed Alvirian wisdom and technology. Alvirians needed human adaptability and chaos. Together, you create balance. Jinwoo listened to the discussion, feeling a sense of completion. This was what diplomacy was supposed to achieve. Not treaties or trade agreements, but genuine understanding. He walked through the celebration, observing the mixing of cultures. Human food vendors sold beside Alvirian ones. Musicians played fusion music, combining both traditions. Children spoke a hybrid language, switching between Korean, English, and Alvirian dialects without thinking. It's beautiful, isn't it? Velnara said, joining him again. It is. But it was also hard-won. We almost lost this so many times. The rogue factions, the skeptics, the exploitation. Velnara nodded. But we overcame them because good people chose to fight for this future. People like you, Jinwoo said. You could have demanded that humans help you. Instead, you asked. You made it a partnership from the beginning. I had no choice, Velnara said. Forcing cooperation would have poisoned everything. Only freely given help has value. They watched as Daun demonstrated one of her abilities to a group of amazed children. She held her hand over a bowl of water and, through sheer concentration, made it boil. The children gasped and clapped. The hybrid children show abilities we never anticipated, Velnara said. Psionic control, environmental adaptation, enhanced learning. They are becoming something beyond either of our species. Does that worry you? Jinwoo asked. No. It fills me with hope. They will face challenges we cannot imagine. They will need abilities we do not have. They are evolution in action. A messenger approached, bowing to both of them. Ambassador Jinwoo. Matriarch Velnara. The council requests your presence. They followed the messenger to a conference room where human and Alvirian leaders waited. The mood was serious but not grim. We have a situation, Jihei said. She was older now, gray in her hair, but still sharp. We've received a message from the Zentari Collective. Jinwoo felt his stomach tighten. The Zentari were a powerful species that controlled a large section of the galaxy. They had been watching the human-Alvirian integration with suspicion. What do they want? Velnara asked. A meeting. They say they've observed our success and wish to learn from it. Jihei pulled up the message. They claim they're facing their own stagnation problem. Do we trust them? A human counselor asked. We verify, Jinwoo said. We share what we've learned, but carefully. If they're genuine, we help them. If they're not, we protect ourselves. The council debated for hours. Finally, they agreed to meet with the Zentari, but with precautions. Jinwoo would lead the diplomatic team. Daun asked to come as well. You're 17, Sangwoo protested. I'm the living proof that integration works, Daun countered. They need to see what's possible. Nari supported her daughter. She is right. Words can be doubted. But seeing a healthy, happy hybrid child? That cannot be denied. Reluctantly, Sangwoo agreed. The delegation prepared to travel to Zentari space. Jinwoo felt nervous but excited. They had proven integration could work with Alvirians. Could they export that success to other species? Before leaving, Jinwoo visited the memorial garden. It had been built to honor those who had died, making the integration possible. The victims of rogue factions, the failed hybrid embryos, the humans and Alvirians who had sacrificed everything for this future. He stood before a plaque that read, "They died so that others could live together." Thinking about the cost? Heejin asked, joining him. Always. We celebrate the success, but we shouldn't forget what it cost. No. But we should also remember what we gained. Heijin gestured to the garden beyond the memorial. A future where human and Alvirian children play together. where two species that were strangers are now family. Jinwoo watched a group of hybrid teenagers practicing with their abilities. One made fire dance in her palm. Another seemed to phase slightly out of reality. A third was lifting objects with her mind. "They're incredible," he whispered. "They're hope," Heejin corrected. "Every one of them proves that different doesn't mean incompatible. That mixing creates strength." The departure day arrived. The delegation boarded a joint human-Alvirian ship, a vessel that combined the best technology of both species. Da-un stood at the viewport, looking back at the Alvirian homeworld. "Nervous?" Jinwoo asked her. "Excited. If we can help another species avoid stagnation, isn't that worth doing?" "Yes, but be careful. Not everyone will see integration as we do." "I know, but I have to try. We all do." The journey to Zentari space took weeks. During that time, Jinwoo worked with Da-un and the other delegation members to prepare. They reviewed data, practiced responses, prepared for every scenario they could imagine. When they finally arrived at the Zentari homeworld, Jinwoo felt the weight of history. This was humanity's first contact with a third major species. How they handled this could shape the future of the entire galaxy. The Zentari met them with formal ceremony. They were insectoid in appearance, but their leader spoke through translation with surprising warmth. "We have watched your integration with great interest," the Zentari queen said. "Our people face similar stagnation. We seek your wisdom." Jinwoo introduced the delegation. When he introduced Da-un, the Zentari queen stared. "This is a hybrid?" the queen asked. "She appears healthy." "I am healthy," Da-un said confidently, "and I am proof that integration works." Over the following days, the delegation shared everything they had learned. The importance of consent, the need for genuine partnership, the value of imperfection and variation. The Zentari listened carefully, asking detailed questions. On the final day, the Queen made an announcement. "We wish to establish exchange programs with your joint civilization, to learn your methods, to see if integration can save us as it saved the Alvirians." Jinwoo felt a surge of pride. They had done it. They had shown that the human Alvirian model could inspire others. But the Queen had one more question. "Why did you help the Alvirians? You gained technology, yes, but you took great risks. Why?" Jinwoo thought about all the reasons. The technology, the adventure, the moral imperative. But in the end, he gave the simplest answer. Because they asked. And because helping others is what makes us human. The Queen tilted her head. "Humanity. Fuck yeah," she said in English. Jinwoo blinked. "You know that phrase? We have studied your culture extensively. This phrase appears often when humans describe themselves. Humanity, fuck yeah. The idea that humans have value despite, or because of, your imperfections." Da-un laughed. "It's a silly phrase, but it captures something true. Humans don't give up, even when we should. We're stubborn and adaptable, and we refuse to accept that problems can't be solved." "And Alvirians?" the Queen asked. "Alvirians taught us that wisdom comes from experience," Da-un said. "That patience and knowledge have value. That some things cannot be rushed. Together, we balance each other." The Queen seemed satisfied. "Then we shall learn from both of you." The delegation returned home to celebration. News of the Zentari agreement spread quickly. Other species began reaching out, asking questions, requesting meetings. The human-Alvirian integration had become a model for the galaxy, not because it was perfect, but because it was possible. Two different species had chosen partnership over isolation, and both had thrived. Jinwoo stood once more in the garden. But this time he wasn't alone. Velnara, Heejin, Sangwoo, Nari, Da-un, and dozens of others joined him. They watched as a new monument was unveiled. It showed a human and an Alvirian reaching toward each other, their hands meeting in the middle. Between them stood a hybrid child, looking toward the stars. The inscription read, "We were different. We chose to be together. We became something new." What do you think the future holds? Velnara asked Jinwoo. Jinwoo looked at the hybrid children playing in the garden, at the mixed families laughing together, at the joint ships preparing to explore new worlds. I think the future holds whatever we make of it, he said, and I think we're just getting started. Dayun joined them, her eyes bright with possibility. The Zentari want me to visit as an ambassador, to show them what hybrids can do. Are you ready for that? Sangwoo asked his daughter. I'm ready to show the galaxy that different species can create something beautiful together. That's what I was born to do. Quote, Nari touched her daughter's face gently. Then go. Show them what we have shown each other. That love and partnership transcend species. That the future belongs to those who dare to mix. Jinwoo watched the family embrace. He thought about the long journey from first contact to this moment. All the challenges, the setbacks, the victories. It had been worth it. Humanity had come to the stars looking for adventure. They had found something better. Partnership. The Alvirians had come to Earth desperate for survival. They had found something better. Renewal. Together, they had created a future that neither species could have built alone. A future of hybrid children who saw no barriers. Of joint colonies where difference was celebrated. Of cultures that mixed and enhanced each other. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still misunderstandings, still those who opposed integration. But it was alive, and growing, and full of potential. Humanity, fuck yeah, Jinwoo said quietly. Velnara looked at him with amusement. Is that your people's battle cry? No, Jinwoo said. It's our reminder. That we have value. That we shouldn't give up. That even when things seem impossible, humans find a way. And what is the Alvirian equivalent? Velnara thought about it. Then she smiled. Wisdom endures. Patience perseveres. Together, we transcend. I like that, Heejin said. Put them together and you get human stubbornness plus Alvirian patience equals unstoppable. They all laughed. In that moment, standing in a garden on an alien world, surrounded by hybrid children and mixed families, Jinwoo felt complete. Humanity had proven their worth, not through conquest or domination, but through partnership and adaptation. They had taken their messy, imperfect DNA and used it to save an entire species. In doing so, they had created something neither human nor Alvirian, but something new and extraordinary. The galaxy was watching. Other species were reaching out. The future was uncertain and full of challenges. But Jinwoo looked at the hybrid children playing in the garden, and he wasn't afraid. They would face whatever came together. Human and Alvirian. Different, but united. Imperfect, but unstoppable. The stars waited, and they were ready.